Hey everybody, David Guido here, founder and CEO, Chief Encouragement Officer at DRG Performance Solutions, and author of the brand new book, What If? 30 Days to Powerful New Perspective. This week we're going to talk about fear, breaking through fear. So let me ask you a question. Have you ever been afraid? Which is kind of a silly question, really. So let me ask you a better question. Have your fears ever kept you from where you wanted to go? Have you ever had a job you wanted to go for and you were afraid? Have you ever had a job you wanted to leave and were afraid? You ever not pursued a relationship because of fear? You ever been in a relationship and not left it out of fear? Did you ever not go for the promotion out of fear? Did you ever not make the sales call out of fear, etc., etc.? We've all been there. We've all had those moments where fear has stopped us, has kept us from going to where we wanted to go. And those of you who've been following me, you know my story. DRG Performance Solutions is a couple of years old. I've wanted to run my own business all my life, and I've wanted to do this and try to make a difference and impact people for over 20 years. Fear got in the way. In fact, decision after decision, choice after choice, virtually everything I did for well over 30 years was impacted by fear. Relationships that I got into because I was afraid not to. Relationships that I didn't get into because I was afraid to. Jobs I didn't take because I was afraid. Things I didn't go for within my job. Projects and promotions because I was afraid, etc., etc., etc. Fear managed me. Fear controlled me. Maybe you've been there. Maybe you're there now. I don't know. This new journey I've been on for the last few years has led me to the conclusion that I have to control my fear. I must manage and control my fear. And that led me to discover things that I can do, specific moves, specific strategies that I can implement at any time to immediately manage and control my fear so it doesn't control me, so it doesn't manage me. And there are 5 simple strategies, 5 moves that you can implement so that you can be all that you want to be, so that you can do all that you want to do, and so you can have all that you want to have. We're going to look at 5 in particular, but before we look at these 5, one note, and that is simply fear is not something to eliminate completely. We're not talking about getting rid of fear, to be fearless completely. A, that's not possible. And B, some fear is a good thing. A good fear keeps you from crossing the street in traffic, for example. But in more specifically, fear allows you to do the right things in the right way because it will stop you from doing the wrong things in the wrong way. That's good fear. Bad fear is the fear that prevents us from being what we want to be, the kind of person we want to be, from doing the things that we want to do, and from having the things that we really truly desire to have. That's bad fear. That's the fear we want to break through. That's the fear that we want to eliminate. But we don't want to eliminate fear altogether because some fear is good. It helps guide us and direct us to make the right decisions, to do the right things in the right way. So here we go. What are those 5 moves, those 5 strategies that you can implement, that you can use to immediately break through the fears that are holding you back from getting to where you want to go? The first is to remember that fear, F-E-A-R, stands for false evidence appearing real. You've heard that acronym, I'm sure. It's been said in a couple of different ways, but it all comes back to the same thing. You know, Mark Twain, I love this quote. I want to make sure I get it direct, or I get it specifically or accurately. Mark Twain once said, "I've had a lot of worries in my life, most of which never happened." I love that. Over 500 years ago, Michel de Montaigne stated, "My life has been filled with terrible misfortune, most of which never happened." I love those. And you've heard that. You've heard different people say in different ways, most of what you're afraid of is not going to happen. You're afraid of things and they never occur, however it's worded. And those great quotes. Now we have statistical data to back it up. Researchers at Cornell University found that they did a huge study, and they found that 85% of what the participants were afraid of never happened. But here's where it really gets cool. In the 15% of the cases where what the subjects were worried about, where those things did happen, in 79% of those cases, the subjects were able to handle what happened far better than they ever imagined they would have been able to handle it. So the conclusion of all of that statistical data is this. In 97% of all cases, what we're afraid of never happens or is easily handled. When we remember that fear is false evidence appearing real, that 85% of the time it never happens, and the rest of the time we're going to be pretty good at handling it. When 97% of the time it's never going to happen or easily handled, when we remember that, now we manage fear. Now we control fear. So that's your first move. That's your first strategy, is to ingrain that in your head. Fear is false evidence appearing real. Second strategy, get that victories list, that qualities list written out. We've talked about it before. I know this, I probably sound like a broken record at this point. Qualities list, victories list. It all starts with you. Everything starts with you. And when you have that list of all of your incredible, amazing qualities, when you have that list of all of the things you've accomplished, your victories, and you're reading it every morning, and you're reading it every night, and you've got it ingrained in your head, not in an arrogant way, not in a braggadocious way, in a humble, confident way. When you're aware of what you're capable of, when you're aware of what you're gifted and talented with, when you're aware of the successes you've had, that's how you manage fear going forward. Because when you start to feel that fear, that's when you can say, no, wait a minute, I got this. Look at all of these great gifts and talents and abilities and qualities I have to overcome it, to break through. Look at all these victories. Look at all these successes I've had. Look at these times on my victory list where I've overcome fear. And been successful, achieved what I wanted to achieve. When you are in that mindset, you are managing your fear. You are controlling your fear. So that's number two. Number two is to have your victories list, have your qualities list. Number three is to have well-written, set, defined, powerful goals. We've talked about this before as well. As a Zig Ziglar Legacy certified trainer, I teach goal setting and achievement. And in that workshop, we teach that part of the goal setting process is having an action plan, a detailed action plan. Also part of that process is to think in advance of the obstacles that could come up, the things that might deter you. When you set goals that way, when you follow that and the rest of the procedure in goal setting and achievement, you manage and control your fear. Because when something comes up and maybe stops you and you think, oh, I don't know if I can do this, you've got an action plan to follow. It takes your focus away from the fear, puts it back on your action plan. And when you have the obstacles in advance figured out, determine what they might be and how you're going to handle them, you have a powerful way to break through your fear, to manage and control it, so it doesn't manage and control you and stop you from achieving your goal, stop you, deter you from going forward. So have powerful goals with an action plan and pre-plan for those obstacles that are going to come up and how you break through them, how you'll get through them. It's a third way to manage and control your fear. The fourth way, again, something we've talked about before, surrounding yourself with the right people. You know, very often when we're in a group, and it's a group of people who are afraid, it's a group of people who make excuses, it's a group of people who don't want to go forward, that enable you to make excuses, that accept your excuses, it becomes very difficult to manage our fear. You know, it all starts with you, but we can't do it alone. We can never accomplish all of the things we want to accomplish in a vacuum on our own. We need people. We need support. We need people lifting us up. We need to lift people up. That's part of the accomplishment and achievement process. And if we're surrounded by people that are afraid and excuse makers and allow us to make excuses, our fear controls us. Our fear manages us. Ah, that was emphatic. When we surround ourselves with people that are accountability partners, others, that don't allow us to make excuses, when we surround ourselves with people that lift us up and challenge us to break through, we are now again managing and controlling our fear. It's not managing and controlling us. So that's the fourth thing. Make sure you're surrounded by people who are managing and controlling their fear. And the fifth strategy is to always be cognizant, always remind yourself that failure is an event, it's a moment in time, and it's a great teacher. You know, one of the great fears we have, anytime you look at a list of top fears, fear of failure comes in the top 2, top 3. And the great Zig Ziglar, he was the best. And he always said his famous quote, "Failure is an event. It's not a person." And how true is that? When we fail at something, that's a moment in time. That doesn't define us. Don't ever let it define you. It is not a definer of who you are. It is a moment in time. That's the first thing. Second thing is use it as a teacher. Look at Thomas Edison. Look at Michael Jordan. Look at Oprah. They failed. They failed repeatedly. Thomas Edison failed 10,000 times. And they used it to teach them. They used it to learn. They turned failure into a tool, and they got to where they wanted to go. The fifth strategy, the fifth move, is to constantly remind yourself over and over and over again that failure is an event. It's not who you are. And failure is good if you use it as a teacher to propel you to where you want to get to. We have two options in this world when it comes to fear. Either fear controls us and manages us, or we control and we manage fear. That's it. And, you know, Zig always said, another great Zig quote was, "One day you're going to say, I wish I had, or I'm glad I did." Every one of us is going to say that. When fear manages you, when fear controls you, you say, "I wish I had." When you manage fear, when you control your fear, that's when you say, "I'm glad I did." And that's when you live the so good life. So implement these 5 moves. Make sure you understand that fear is false evidence appearing real, and that 97% of the time your fears either never come true or are easily handled. 97% of the time. Number 2, make sure you have your qualities list and your victories list written out, and that you're reading them every day, every morning, every night, that you're fully aware of what you're capable of and what you've accomplished, because you will then manage your fear. Number 3, set those powerful goals. With the action plan, prepare for the obstacles in advance so that you are prepared, so that you don't have to be afraid because you've got a plan in place and your focus is on that plan, not on the fear. Number 4, surround yourself with the accountability partners, with the right people that manage their fear, so they'll lift you up and help you manage yours, and so you can lift them up and you can go to new heights and to the next level together. Number 5, make sure that you are absolutely in tune with the reality that failure is an event. It's not who you are, and that every great failure is a great teacher that will propel you to the next level. You do those 5 things, implement those 5 strategies, take that philosophy and those tips and those techniques forward with you. You will manage your fear, you will control your fear, and you will live a life that you call so good. Thank you so much, as always, for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for reading. I hope that this serves you. And if you're having trouble and struggling with fears, I hope that this will help you get past those and break through and get to where you want to be, so that you can be the right kind of person, the person you want to be, that you do the things you want to do and have the things you desire to have. And if you know somebody who's struggling, that they have these dreams, they have these things they want to do, and they're stuck. Fear has them stuck. Fear has them immobilized. If you know somebody like that, and this will help them, this will serve them, this will help them break through, please share this. I implore you, please share this with them. If you feel like it will make a difference, share it with them so that they can experience what they wish to. And until the next time, go out every day, discover something new. Reach for your dreams. Go for it. So that your life is so good.